Hello, welcome back. Now today's project is going to be this 1982 Chevy C10. Now this does have a 454 in it. Now what we're doing on it today is we're changing the cap, rotor, coil, ignition module, spark plug wires, and spark plugs. Now this truck belongs to a buddy of mine. We've done a lot of work to it before, so now we're going to tune up the ignition on it for a few different reasons. Now this truck's had a lot of problems since he bought it. He bought it out of here in Arkansas. Shop in Oklahoma did all the work. When he bought it, I guess the guy sold it because he's frustrated with it. After spending, I think it was $7,000. We found the receipt in the glove box. It overheated, it vapor locked, wouldn't say in time, and it just ran horrible. It's sluggish. And with the 454, you'd think it'd run better. Now I went back and went over their work. The vapor lock issue was because I guess they couldn't get any fuel out of the stock fuel lines, so they installed an electric fuel pump directly underneath the driver's seat, basically. Ran the fuel line over the transmission, directly on the transmission, off the back side of the block into the carburetor, with the regulator on the firewall. Now I had to go back and just basically put new lines on the passenger side of fuel lines, since we had it, and it just clogged up. Was the old one's problem, but we just want to go ahead and put new ones on it. We put the fuel pump further back, ran a rubber line to the opening of the new still fuel line on the frame rail, and then basically came out stock where it comes out, just ran line up to the carburetor, and that fixed our vapor lock issue. The second issue was the timing. Now when he first brought it over and it ran horrible and sluggish, I advanced the timing, it ran fine, fell back out of time, pulled the distributor tab off, and two prongs, they're supposed to be slightly bent like that to hold the distributor in place. Well, they were flat. So we went back, just put a new one on it, held it right in time, perfect, ran good. The overheating was the way they had it set up. A big block, you usually got to have a bypass somewhere. There's no bypass on it anywhere, so we added the bypass, ran the hoses for the heater core correctly, and it did fine. And that fixed that. Now we're up to an ignition upgrade. I'm going to show you a few reasons why we're doing the ignition upgrade. Now the cap, rotor, and coil, we know nothing about. We don't know the voltage of them. There's no brand, nothing like that. We do have Msd plug wires, but the problem with the plug wires is they got a set that had different angles in them. Like this right here, it's 90-degree boot, that's hitting the flange. These straights that are starting to rub and hit the headers. So we're going to change that, and then the spark plugs are just old and worn out. Now what we're doing in this upgrade is we're going to use this Hypertech power coil kit, and its part number is 4050. Now I've run this on several vehicles and it does extremely well. Now it comes with a cap, rotor, coil. It's a really nice setup. It's 53,000 volts. I said it works really good. It's what I'm using in the work truck. I ran it in my other truck too, with good results. Now, if you're not familiar with this, here lately they've changed the screws for the rotor to plastic. So you can see, make sure you use those, because if you don't, it'll cause a miss. I learned that from experience firsthand, so that's not an urban legend or anything. Now our spark plug wires, we went with Taylor Centervolt 8.2s, and they're supposed to have no radio interference and just really good. I forget what ohms they are, but I got the 135-degree boot so we can clear our headers. And you can see they're really nice. Now we're going to go ahead and put a ignition module in there. I went with Summit Racing's ignition module, which I'm running in the work truck too for several years. It's been doing exceptionally fine. And the part number for the spark plug wires if you're interested. And the last part is, of course, E3 Diamond Fire spark plugs, which I basically use in everything. It's because they just give me extremely well results. And I'm going to be running the E340s. Now this distributor was installed when he bought it. I have not done anything to it. Normally I have number 1 here, pointing directly at the number 1 cylinder, but this is how they have it, so we're going to go back for now, because we're not pulling the distributor to do the tune-up on it. But you can see here, someone's already marked the plug wires. So for some of y'all that struggle with putting your spark plug wires back on, that's a good idea. Now, since we're not going to be using these plug wires, it really doesn't matter. But if you're just changing your cap or anything, it's not a bad idea. That way you'll know exactly where they're at and just make it quick and put it back together. Now for me, I'm just basically going to pluck these off one by one and lay them back. Of course, we have to take these off, which is pretty simple. Sometimes you may need a screwdriver just to very carefully release that so that you can just unplug everything. Now, I usually have a little bit of trouble with these right here because it's two-sided, one on each side. Once you get that, you can just pull the plug and it comes off. Alright, the next thing to do is just take a flathead down here on the side and basically just twist these off. There'll be 4 of them. Okay, now with the cap off, we just remove the Phillips screws in the rotor. And then we're going to remove our 2 screws holding in the ignition module. Now, after you get the screws out, it's pretty simple from here. Just unplug it from each end. And you got it. And now, this one struggled a little bit because it's actually got a little arc spot there, so something wasn't right. Now when you go to put the new one on, make sure you use some dielectric grease and apply it to the new one. And then we're going to plug it back in. Make sure everything's snug and secure. And we're going to reuse the screws that we took out and put them back in. Okay, now we're going to install the rotor. Now once you get the rotor good and tight, you can install your cap. Now one little trick when you install cap, go ahead and twist these little prongs outwards so that when you go to put it back on, it's a lot easier, and you can just drop it in and then turn them and lock them back down. And then all we gotta do is go back and lock down every one of our tabs. Now sometimes your vacuum advanced canister gets in the way when locking it down, making it difficult. Sometimes you got a little tab here on the back of the intake where this one is almost hitting. And now we'll plug everything back in. There we go. Now this is our battery on the back side of the HEI. Up front here is a slot for the tack adapter. So if you're running a tack, you can add it. Now this is where, if you're just doing any upgrades to the distributor, you can go ahead and put your plug wires back on and be done, but we're not going to put our plug wires back on yet because we're going to put the new ones on and change the plugs. I'm just going to grab my trusty 5/8 and go around. Now these are our E340 Diamond Fire spark plugs. Now a little trick what I do with my spark plug wires is I'll lay them out by length. That way as soon as I put them back on the plug in the distributor, I can get them all nice and tidy under the hood and make sure everything reaches correctly. Now starting with number 1, work your way around the distributor clockwise. 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. You got all your spark plug wires on there. Get all nice and neat. Now we got them all on. You see how the 135-degree angle fits. Got our wires routed fairly nicely. And that's all there is doing to a tune-up kit on your ignition. Now I hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you guys out. And as always, thanks for watching.